So, good morning or good night, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to another interview of the Shield Dude on a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and today I'm joined by Francisco Meza, and he's a guitar player from Canada, and he has a solo album called Textures that came out I think a few weeks ago, and we're
Couple
here,
weeks ago.
to talk all about it. So, first of all, Francisco, how are you this fine Friday?
I'm doing really well. Thank you, Hector, for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. So yeah, so I listen to Texture. You play, it's an instrumental record, but I also read because I follow you on Instagram that you're also you playing some tribute band. I think one is Guns N' Roses, and the other one was it a Rush one? I can't remember right now.
That's right. A Guns N' Roses tribute called Gunslingers and Rush tribute called My Favorite Headache. Yeah.
Awesome. So where in Canada are you from, Francisco?
So I'm in Newmarket, which is just 30 minutes away from Toronto. So let's just call it the Great Toronto area. So yeah, it's one of the major urban centers of Canada.
Yeah. So listening to Textures, uh, I can tell that like this album has different influences because there's more harder tracks, longer tracks, but there's also more like softer type of tracks, not acoustic, because I don't think I didn't hear an acoustic guitar. It's all electric, correct?
Actually, no, there's fairly acoustic
There's one.
sounds
Mhm.
within the record. I think pretty much all the songs in the record have acoustic sounds except one. But compared to previous records and singles that I put out, it's a little bit more melodic.
Mhm.
It has some heavy elements, but it may not be it's not as heavy as previous records. Let's just put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, well, I heard, I don't know, I didn't know if they were electronic, like acoustic, but yeah, there's some like softer tracks in it. So,
Yeah.
Francisco, you being, like being a guitar player, obviously I know that you like, obviously you must like Guns N' Roses and Rush, but any other like guitar players that got you into the instrument?
Oh, sure. I mean, it all started really with Slash, but obviously on the more metal side, you just started with the typical ones, the Metallicas and the Iron Maidens and the Megadeths and whatnot. But lately, what really influenced a lot of the sound of the record is stuff like Opeth. When you hear like the latest of Opeth, you hear obviously some heaviness, but it's pretty warm sound.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to do my best in emulating that. I'm pretty much all self-taught when it comes to recording and all that. So it's been a journey to to get the sound to where it is right now, which I'm pretty proud of. But yeah, in terms of influences, I can name, the typical ones that I think most guitar players would have, right? Like I said, the Metallicas, the Rush, the Dream Theaters, and the Opeths, and all that good stuff somehow trickles down into your playing.
Yeah, so did you record this because you were saying did you self-produce this and record this record?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so how's that experience of self-producing and doing your own stuff?
Yeah, it's a challenge and one that I look for wholeheartedly because if it turns out well, then you congratulate yourself, and it turns out bad, then you're the only one to blame. So it's been a challenge, or not a challenge. It's been a discovery
Mm.
road really since I started doing this in 2009, and it's great because you get to learn other instruments. Like I wasn't really much of a bass player at the beginning, so you decide to do something on your own, and you have to get better at it. So it's been a great journey to discover new sounds, what you think you were not capable to do before, and then you realize that actually it works, and it's great making a statement on your own. I think there's nothing wrong, obviously, with being in bands and whatnot. I obviously enjoy it, and I've been a part of bands before, but it's really a good process of discovering what you like, how you can turn things better as well. So it's been a really good journey to learn about recording, about playing, and mixing, mastering, all that good stuff. You learn as you do, and I think with this record in particular, I think I've reached a new level that I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah. So for you, doing instrumental music is how, like when you're playing, because I know you're conveying emotions with the guitar and no lyrics. So uh, how would you say, like, have you always been a fan of instrumental music?
I have, yeah. Since the very beginning, I would say in the 90s when you discover, players like Satriani and Vi and Marty Friedman when he was doing his solo stuff. Always a fan of that type of music. And I'll be honest in saying that it's not the main music that I listen. Most of the music that I do listen is with vocals. From the more recent stuff that I'm listening, that it's instrumental, I would say Long Distance Calling and Russian Circles are major bands that I do listen right now. But yeah, the trick I think is to, when writing the music, not put too much thought into, is this too am I being too busy? Just write from whatever comes out,
Mhm.
and in the end you can make the guitar tell a story. And what really helps me, at least, is once I have a good riff, once I have a good idea, I picture what that could be, what that means. And the titles of the songs really reflect that imagery that I have in my head, and so that takes you to different paths, and hopefully conveys a story. Sure, it's pretty abstract, and but that's the challenge of writing music that hopefully conveys some form of emotion. And obviously, the title of the track helps, I hope, in conveying that story to the listener.
Yeah, no, it's 8 tracks, uh, and the first track really, it's a beautiful track for mom. So tell me a little bit about that one. Yeah, because
Well,
it's very
that's
serene
yeah.
and beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, it's a song that came out of a dream. If I'm being honest, it's very personal. My mother passed away in a couple of years ago, and right after her passing, I had this dream of hearing her voice, and she was telling me that I'm okay, and that actually made me feel really serene. So that song pretty much came immediately after that dream, and it was like one of the easiest songs to write. It's pretty short, but what I mean with that is it just came straight from the heart.
Yeah, no, and it sounds like it. But then you have like more rocking tracks, like you open with the duel, and the last song, the end, is an epic, like 6.5 minute closer, where you show your chops as a guitar player, with some cool like soloing and sounds. But you have like the ones that are more like relaxed, like I think like respite and some areas of some other tracks. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So the name of the album, Textures, is there like a story behind the name?
Right from the get-go, when I wrote The Duel, which was the first track of this record that I recorded and wrote, I knew that I wanted to do something that had as many types of sounds as possible that I could do in a limited production capacity. limiting those sounds to guitar strictly. So there's no keyboards, there's no sampling. Everything that you hear sonically comes from the guitar. So the purpose was to try to come up with as many textures as possible using the guitar, whether it's electric, whether it's a 12 string acoustic or a regular acoustic, the electric, using ambient reverb, using octavers and just different ways to make the guitar have a different pitch or sound. That was the purpose of it. And pretty much every track has something unique that I haven't done at least before. So it's not like I'm reinventing the wheel here, but it's just a way of me expressing my music sonically in a way that I haven't done before.
Okay, and people can, this is, self-produced, or is it only digital or are there physical copies?
No, it's all digital. Yeah.
It's all digital.
Yeah.
So I'll show the artwork of the album. So here we have it. This is the album artwork for Textures. Who did the album? Did you do this album cover yourself as well?
No, so I partner with a good friend of mine. His name is Felix Tapia, and he's a art director in Mexico. And he has done pretty much the covers of every album that I have. And he's a great partner. The story about this is that once I had the music written in the title chosen, textures, and the purpose of it was to sonically do as much as I can with the guitar, I asked him, can you convey that image, or can you, I basically told him, remember the Winamp application that we used to have on PCs back in the 90s, and it would have all these cool visualizations when you're listening to music? I said to him, imagine that as you're listening to music. And so this sort of conveys that. Think of it as waves of sounds, and it reflects a bit as well some of the, at least one of the tracks of the album called Moonlit Night. So that's where the cover comes from. Really happy that how it turned out, and the idea of putting a vinyl sort of sleeve, and it's I think pretty unique and something that he came up with entirely by himself, which I'm pretty stoked about.
Yeah, no, it looks cool. I'm just wondering, Francisco, do you also speak Spanish? Because of the name and the last name.
Yes, I do.
Ah, perfecto. Yeah, yeah. I was wondering, like, because Francisco is a very Hispanic name, so I was wondering if you spoke Spanish as well. So, uh, so you have your album material, and you do your tribute stuff. Like, do you enjoy doing both? Like doing the tributes, and your solo material, because I know there's some artists that say that they don't like to play like tribute or stuff, but obviously it's a great way to play music. And what better, like, if you can play other people's songs and create your own, that makes, not everyone can do that, right?
Yeah, it all depends on where you want to be at in your music career journey. Let's just put it that way. The way I've decided to do or pursue my career in music has been, behind the computer, writing my music and putting it out there to whoever wants to listen. And I'm fine with that. I don't want to pursue it further than that. So no touring or no playing live necessarily. So the avenue of having tribute bands where it's an easy way to interact with the public, go out there when possible and play live. It's just a no pressure type of feel, and you get to play your instrument out there. But I don't think sometimes there's nothing wrong with being insular and exploring your music at home and then putting it out there to whoever wants to listen.
Yeah. like so you being a guitar player, like do you have like a preference in guitars that you like to play?
I have I have quite a few, but yeah, no, mainly electrics, and I stay or I play preferably Les Pauls, like Gibson Les Pauls, and
Well, if you like Slash, like
yes, I guess so. Like subconsciously, that's where I gravitate to. But yeah, for this album in particular, the Les Paul didn't actually make it through. It was a PRS, the Paul Reed Smith, um, uh, a custom 24. That's what it's mostly showing up in the album, in a Gibson SG as well.
yeah, because I'm not I don't know much about guitars or a musician. So, but I'm wondering like any guitar, like signature guitar or different, like they must have like something different. Like I don't know, is this in the tone or you obviously can explain that better to me.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends. I think in the end, when once you record something, it might be kind of difficult for the listener to say, "Oh, this is this guitar or whatever." I think more in the room, you
Mm.
can feel that. So speaking strictly as performing it in the room. I definitely find a different resonance between Gibson, a PRS, or Ernie Ball, Music Man, whatever the case is. Recorded, really, I would challenge anyone to make that distinction, unless you're talking about a difference between a Stratocaster and a Gibson Les Paul, like different types of pickups configuration, then okay. But once you get to the nitty gritty to make a difference between a Gibson Les Paul and a PRS on a track recorded, I think that's pretty difficult.
Yeah, no, makes sense. So uh so you're I was wondering, you said you always mentioned like your favorite guitar player is Slash, and I'm guessing like if you had to pick like a top five guitar players that at least that influence you or you prefer, which one would they be?
That's a tough one. But I would say sure, Slash, Hetfield, Akerfeld from Opeth, Vi, just for how flamboyant he is. It's incredible and unmistakable sound. And I don't know, I would say the fifth one, that's a tough one. I think I owe you that one. I cannot remember, I
Okay,
cannot think of right now.
you can say yourself. No, like,
Oh yeah,
if
well,
I'm a
let's not
fan
say
of
that.
myself. So this record, it's 32 minutes, 8 songs, and it goes through like different texture. I found that it was a good record to play and like it suited me, like playing in the background, you're doing things and you're
Good.
listening to the guitar. What of the 8 songs right now, which like I'm gonna ask you, this will be the question. Which track was the most difficult to write for you and why? And which one is the one that is your favorite and you prefer to play?
The hardest one was the second track called They Are Here. I wanted to do something. It sounded at the beginning fairly basic, and so I struggled with trying to make it a little bit more unique. And
Mm,
that's where I then stumble on this effect that just makes your guitar sound like a synthesizer type of thing. And
mm,
once I discovered that new sonic approach to the guitar that I never experienced before, then it became okay. Now I know what to do with this piece of riff or this piece of music that I had. So that was, I think, the most difficult one to end up writing, because until that melody and that sound came through, I didn't know what to do with that piece of music. And
okay.
for the one that I prefer, I think is the second part of the question, or my favorite one. I think it would be Beneath the Surface. Beneath the Surface was recorded actually with a Telecaster, so I forgot to mention that. So there's one song recorded with a Telecaster. First time recording like metal with a Telecaster. And the cool thing about that song is that it's part very heavy and part very, calm, pretty sounding. And I think it does convey that story, or at least emotion that I'm trying to imply, which is there's always something sinister when something is really pretty. There's always a second side of the coin, or the other side of the coin. So I think that's my favorite one. It definitely has a mood, an ambient, and there's like a tension within the music that I'm pretty proud of.
Awesome. Yeah. So Francisco, like I enjoy listening to the music. It's pretty cool. So people, I'll post where can they follow you on the socials?
Sure. I'm on Instagram and Facebook as Francisco Meza Music. And I'm on YouTube as well as Francisco Meza 11. That's where I mostly hang out. And yeah, thank you very much for checking it out.
Yeah, I'll follow you on YouTube as well. So I know
Sounds
when
good.
you upload like new music. So besides, do you upload also like do you like doing like covers and playing like covers and uploading them?
You know what? That's how it started. Everything
Hmm.
started back when YouTube was just starting out in 2006. I pretty much created an account back then, and that's how it started, just putting covers up. And yeah, so you didn't ask, but now that you went there, I'll tell you a little story.
Yes.
Back in 2008, when Death Magnetic came out, Metallica had like a couple songs out, and I created a cover of The Day That Never Comes, and oh, I cannot remember the other one. And Lars Ulrich made a video, and he named in that video, and so everything sort of coincided back in 2008 because I was competing also on a guitar competition for Guitar World, the magazine.
Hmm.
So that sort of like propelled, my views for the guitar competition, which I eventually won, and it really propelled me to start making my own music and propelling that YouTube channel. So that's how it all started, really, with YouTube. It was a great way to showcase what you can do, hear feedback, and it really got me going into the let's start making my own music and not just covers.
Well, that's an awesome story that I wish I could play some instruments so I could say that I could like upload stuff, but no, I don't have the talent to play music. So I just upload, but I'm good at interviewing people. So at least I have that talent to talk to people, but no music skills. I wish I could, and I would do some covers too because that could help me, but no. Sadly, I was born talentless.
I
When
wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that.
well, when it comes to music, like
All
playing
right, all
music,
right, all right.
you know what
No,
they say? Those,
I appreciate you bringing new and unheard music and talent to the masses. So there you go. That's a pretty awesome talent, I would say.
yeah, I know it's good to like it's good to talk to more underground bands and people discover. I love it when people send me like messages that they discover a lot of bands because of me, and then they
Sure.
listen to them. They're like, "Oh, you were right. This music is really good." So it's good that they get to discover. And because I review some like high profile albums, but I also like to review like lesser like underground bands that I think people should
That's
check out.
awesome.
So I would recommend your music to anyone who likes cool instrumental music with some, you mentioned Steve Vai, we mentioned many names, so like they can enjoy your music, and I'll post the link so people can follow you. So anything you like to say before we go, Francisco?
No, thank you, Hector. Simply that, thank you for the opportunity to chat and for your listeners and followers to check me out. Appreciate that very much. And that's it.
Yeah. So until next time, couchers, this is Hector, the Shield Dude on a couch, and I'll see you all right here on the couch. Thank you and goodbye.